Today we're going over our vertical cable system. Just going to give a minute for any last minute attendees to hop on and we will get started. All right, let's get started here this morning. Again, we're going over vertical cable. My name is Tucker Martin. I'm the product technical specialist here at Keylink, and so we're going to go over. We have two webinars for today, starting with vertical cable. Vertical cable is really great for a lot of different reasons. The two main ones for me, actually, let's go three main ones for me. One are cost. So it's going to be a good chunk cheaper than a horizontal cable, just based off of I don't want to say less fittings, but smaller, less detailed fittings that are cheaper to produce than the horizontal cable is. So it does end up being a good chunk less expensive than the horizontal cable, and you get to achieve that sort of see-through railing look without paying full price for horizontal cable. So it can often be a good sell in that regard. It's very easy to install, and I would list that as maybe a fourth reason. Second reason is just purely the aesthetics of it. So where horizontal cable seems to fit in the best for any sight line where you're lining up with the horizon, so like a beach or a field, that kind of thing. That's most, I would say, sight lines that you're gonna see, like some of those larger decks on, is something with a really big view. But in wooded areas and anything where you have a lot of vertical sight lines, like the trees, actually the vertical cable seems to blend in a lot more. You take a picture, a little bit back of vertical cable in a forest, and there's no railing, other than the top and the bottom rail, obviously. It just blends right in. So the aesthetic for that reason is going to be very popular. Yeah, and the third and final reason I would say is those customers that are still a little concerned about the ladder effect of horizontal cable. There was in the ICC, they released a code back in 2001 that said something to the extent of a prohibition of the ladder effect. Any horizontal members on a guard, which is what they refer to as a railing. So that had such an extreme pushback when it was released that it was removed less than 6 months later. So they added a revision to the 2001 code. I think it actually did dip into 2002 at that point. That basically said that the purpose of a guard is to prevent accidental falls rather than intentional ones. And I'm paraphrasing with that, obviously, kind of a funny way to word it. But so that code is almost a quarter of a century old and has not been enforced for almost a quarter of a century. There are little pockets here and there of boroughs or cities that don't allow it. Chicago is one of them. But there has been no nationally recognized code that prohibits a quote unquote ladder effect for almost a quarter of a century now. So it was never really a real thing. The ICC actually released independent testing data very quickly after that revision, proving that there is no increased risk of climbing a horizontal membered railing, a ladder effect railing. There's no increased risk of that over a traditional railing. Basically, if a kid is going to climb something, he's going to climb it. So it's not a real code, but that being said, there are still homeowners out there that believe that. There are inspectors out there that believe that. Just sort of a ill-informed sort of idea that there's this ladder effect code that has not existed for over 2 decades. But yeah, so there's certainly that sort of rumor spreading around. A big reason for that is a lot of our competitors, when we came out with a horizontal cable, they sort of marketed off of that. They said that how could Keylink sell this, ladder effect railing? All these kids are going to be pole vaulting over the railings, and Keylink doesn't care about kids. And we had a lot of competitors market like that, and so that kind of spread that talking point throughout the industry. Important thing to remember is all of the competitors that have said that about us now have horizontal cable, because they see it like we do as no increased risk, and it's sort of an outdated mantra. But all that being said, there's still some homeowners that are overly cautious, and they just want to go the extra mile to make sure that they can just leave the kids out on the deck and not have to worry about climbing, even though it's not any more likely or less likely that they will. But hey, we're not here to change people's minds. We're here to sell them quality, easy to install, long-lasting product. And if they don't want a horizontal member, then we're not going to force them to. So all that to say that when you get to those few sticky customers that still believe believe in that ladder effect theory, that's what the vertical cable is for. Not the only reason. Lots of people like it just for the aesthetic or for some of the other reasons I mentioned before. But yeah, that's certainly somewhere to turn to for those customers that really are sort of stuck on that old saying, the ladder effect. Little bit of a rant, but we'll get into the vertical cable here now. Some of the things we're going to go over are the code compliance features, the 2024 improvements we're going to briefly touch on, tensioning, or just sort of general install, the bracket option, tools, and general overview. So we have tested our vertical cable in 36 and 42-inch heights, so it's code compliant for IRC and IBC for residential or commercial. So completely code compliant, and we do have the third-party testing data to support that. I myself have been going through a lot of code testing for some competitors this week, sort of getting a sort of a perspective on where we stand in the market. There's a lot of competitors out there, a lot of railing manufacturers out there that claim that things are code tested and code approved in 50 states. When you actually get that testing documentation from them, which I have gotten, it's atrocious. The fact that they can even call that testing. Some of this testing data is not even testing at all. It's just sort of hypothetical calculations that makes them believe that their railing would hold up if it were testing. So important to sort of keep that in mind when selling a railing, that like, hey, if it comes up that inspectors need proof that this is going to pass code, then you actually need the proof. Calculations are not going to help him. So you need to go with a railing manufacturer that really not only stands by the railing, but has proof to stand by it. So we do have all of that code testing. We test a 2.5 times a 2.5 times safety factor over any numerical requirement by code, like a 200-pound pull test on the post. We're actually testing to over 500 pounds and then until failure. So yeah, we do have all the code testing to support and dispel any claims of insufficient structure to any inspectors. So the features of the vertical cable, there we see it here. You can see definitely the difference in orientation. This might have been a better aesthetic appeal to go with a horizontal cable in a view like this. But again, there's other reasons to go with vertical cable, and the price might have been the reason here, or even just the overall aesthetic of it. All of the components in the vertical cable are either aluminum or 316L marine grade stainless steel, so that it is an extremely resilient version of stainless steel. A lot of competitors out there are selling stuff with 304 stainless steel and just sort of banking on the stainless steel aspect of it to make you assume that it's exterior grade, and it's not. So we're using the highest quality weather resilient stainless steel that's available. Again, available in 36 and 42-inch heights, 6 and 8 foot section lengths. The intermediate balusters that we have here, that actually support the cables, those are also stainless steel. We see a image of one at the bottom here. This is a new improvement that we've made, that sort of shape there that allows a better tensioning pattern that reduces the install time of each section by 30%. So contractors have been giving us some great feedback on that already. That rolled out, I believe it was January sometime last winter. So we should be pretty much all switched over to that new system at this point. It's available in level and stair sections. That's another important note for the new system, that the level and stair sections are not interchangeable, which is, other than the brackets, they were before. So now we have intermediate balusters that better support the level and the stair individually, and they do a better job at each, rather than sort of making both of them sort of a jack of all trades, master of none thing. Like I said, the new system is 30% faster to install and comes with an increased resistance to galling and galvanic corrosion due to some of the internal components, the tensioning nuts, the threaded crimps that we changed up for a higher quality and different material that increases this system's resistance to galling and galvanic corrosion, and just increases the resistance in general. So this is the flyer that we've been sending with all of our new vertical cable systems, just in case that an installer is sort of used to the old system and they're wondering why this is new. We have this in here because in order to take advantage of the increased install time, you do sort of need to reread the installation guide. So we have this flyer in there to just highlight the fact that, hey, this is a new system and you should really take advantage of all those improvements by reading the install guide. So those will be in there basically until we feel that the market has adapted to it. So the installation, you're going to pop your vinyl insert out of the bottom. You're going to sort of just drop that bottom rail and it sort of unfolds like an accordion. Going to cut out your stainless steel cables. So these are required every 5th cable. So 5 cables, and then your 6th cable will be replaced by a rod. Can be a little bit confusing, but 5 cables and then a rod, then another 5 cables and then a rod. That's the maximum spacing that you can do with this system. That's significantly less support rods than a lot of our competitors, just because we make them out of a very strong stainless steel. And some of the competitors out there are using aluminum, and not a great look. But yeah, so every 5 rods, or I should say every 6th rod, so 5 cables in a rod, you cut out that cable, pull the cable out, insert that ballaster, and then you can tension things by hand. I find it easiest when just hand tensioning to grab the threaded nut on the bottom and then just spin the cable. You can tension it up real quick. I mean, much faster than if you were to try to get a wrench in there. And you're gonna install your brackets, hang it between the posts. And I like to wait until I'm just done with the job, unless it's a huge job for some reason. I like to wait until I'm done with the job and then just go around and tension everything. You can, have a seat on the deck and just tighten things in the orientation that you see down here. It's sort of like a same idea as tightening the lug nuts on a car. Go back and forth, meet in the middle. So this is definitely an improved tensioning pattern than our old system, and does result in a faster install. And again, the reason that we're able to change up that tensioning pattern is because of the different shape of the intermediate ballasters. Some of the tools required for this system: the stainless steel cable cutters. Obviously, when you're cutting out the cables where those ballasters go, I will say that the stainless steel cable cutters are much more important on horizontal cable. A lot of times contractors will be like, "Oh, I have cable cutters already, and I'm good on that." On horizontal cable, I would definitely sway them away from that and get a higher quality cable cutters. They're usually going to use like tin snips or something, and they're going to make the cable frayed at the end or squished, and then it won't fit into the lockjaw. That's on horizontal cable. With the vertical cable, if they have something as long as it can cut the cable and they want to use that, that's fine. All you're doing is cutting the cable and removing it, so there's no reason to need that higher quality stainless steel cable cutter. But I do find that these last way longer than anything you're going to use. You're going to probably ruin your tin snips trying to cut stainless steel with it. It's not made for that. So I do recommend it, but it's not really required. The cable gripping pliers are required. You cannot use just a regular pliers. It will damage the stainless steel cable and cause it to rust in that area if you're using regular pliers. So do make sure that we are, make sure that we are selling the cable gripping pliers with every job. Cable rust and corrosion protection, the T9 BioShield, that's recommended to be applied to the cable twice a year. That will keep the stainless steel cable looking brand new, basically forever, at least way longer than your deck will be. We don't have any reason to believe that with proper maintenance that your cable will ever go bad. I'm not 200 years old, or I would tell you it lasts that long. But yeah, it's as long as you're keeping that T9 BioShield, fresh coats twice a year, this stuff will last forever. The cable rust and stain remover, sort of a if you forget, sort of a get out of jail free card if you forget to protect the cable. Or a customer, they had a contractor install the cable and never left them with any maintenance guidelines, and then it started to rust over the years. You can actually use that cable rust and stain remover and just sort of wipe the rust right off. But then it is important to make sure that you then start to do the maintenance twice a year with that BioShield. And then the cable tension gauge, I would say that's more important on vertical cable than it is with horizontal by far. And in order to get the increased reliability out of our new cable system, you do need to make sure that you are tensioning to the right tensions, which are listed in the install guide. Otherwise, for the most part, there's no difference between our new system and the old system, so you're sort of losing out on all the improvements we made, which is fine. It'll still work, but yeah, getting a good tension on there does significantly decrease the chance of any cables coming loose over time and having to retension things. So that cable tension gauge is pretty important in my opinion. So a couple beauty shots here. Yeah, just a really cool looking system, pretty see-through. You can see at the end of this run of railing, you can already not see the cables at all. Given a couple more feet back, you wouldn't be able to see the stainless steel rods either. You can imagine if these rods were powder coated to match the railing, that they would be extremely obvious, but in this system, they sort of start to fade away. So pretty cool. Same thing here. As the camera here is focusing on the river below, you notice that even was probably about 5 feet away, even 5 feet away, the cables are invisible. So yeah, I mean, you do get that sort of see-through railing look here. This is actually a Airbnb in York, near York, Pennsylvania, that I actually got to visit and stay at one time. So it was very beautiful. Some interior applications here. It's a really cool look. Again, we're just looking at some beauty shots of all the stuff we've been ranting about for the past 20 minutes. But that's all I have for today. So if you guys have any questions about vertical cable or any questions about Keylink in general, I would encourage you to respond to the email reminder that was sent out to you about this webinar. That will come to me directly, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. So thank you for joining me today. I would encourage you to stick around at 11 o'clock. We do have a webinar on black cable coming up. So that will be basically our first introduction to black cable in the market. Very exciting time to be seeing that black cable. It's the first complete black cable railing system on the market. So yeah, encourage you guys to stick around for that. Should be exciting, and I hope to see you then. And if not, then I will see you guys next week. Appreciate your time.